What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Ninth Doctor Christopher Ecclestone story, Rose. This is the first ever episode of the modern series of Doctor Who, and yeah, we're going to be reviewing it today. Now, before we get started, I'm actually going to be going through from starting here at Rose, going all the way to, I guess Twice Upon a Time was the first ever episode that I did a video on, did a review on. We're going to be going all the way to there in order, reviewing these stories. Now, I have in the past kind of done random new series stories here and there all over the place. That's what I do with the classic series as well. I'm going to be continuing to do them randomly for the classic series, but for the new series, I'm doing a rewatch, a full kind of marathon of the new series, and we're going to be doing them in order this time. The few episodes that I've already reviewed, I will not be doing again, but I will be filling in all the rest. So we're starting here with Rose, so let's start off with the cast. So we of course start with Christopher Ecclestone as the Ninth Doctor. Of course, this is his first appearance as the Doctor on Doctor Who, and I think he's really good from the start of this one. He's got the energy, he's a little bit grumpy and grouchy, very much in some ways, a little bit reminiscent to the first Doctor, I guess. I mean, he's not that grouchy and, he's not that bad, but he definitely has his moments of not being very happy. And we find out later on that that's really mainly because of the Time War. He's just come from the Time War, and everything he's lost, all the people he's lost, his planet that he's lost, and all this stuff going on. He's not a particularly happy man, but he still wants to go out there and help people out. So it's really, really well acted by Christopher Ecclestone. I mean, he's always been one of my favorite Doctors, even though he only did one series. I really love him as the Doctor. I love the Ninth Doctor. And yeah, he gave the energy. He had funny moments. He had the serious moments. And I think straight away, he pretty much, he hits a home run straight away here. Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. Of course, Rose, the first companion of the new series, and she's a companion that I've been a little bit all over the place about. It'll be interesting to see what I think of her after, reviewing all her stories through this marathon. But yeah, I like Rose on the most part. I am a big fan of, this whole era of the show. So yeah, I do like Rose, and Billie Piper, I think, very, very good. She does a great performance here. Yeah. She has some funny moments as well. She, plays the whole thing of, what the hell is going on, when the Autons first appear and when she first meets the Doctor and trying to figure out who the Doctor is. She plays that all very well, and you can definitely the whole idea, this episode is called Rose after all, is kind of looking at this through her eyes, putting the viewers into the companion's kind of perspective, and I think she does a great job of that. Acted very well, and yeah, not really anything bad to say. I will also briefly mention Noel Clarke as Mickey Smith. Of course, there have been some things later on in, over the last few years about Noel Clarke, and some things that, have been going on with him, and he's not exactly a particularly liked person nowadays, but I kind of have to overlook that. I'm not going to take that into consideration when, just talking about his acting. It's got nothing to do with that. Same goes for, John Barrowman when we get to him eventually. But yeah, I think he's fine. Mickey's not the greatest for, to be honest, most of Series 1, actually. I think Mickey really comes into his own halfway through Series 2. Series 1, he's very much just a bluthering he is the scaredy cat. He's not the most engaging and interesting character. He does a good enough job of what he's got, though. It's more of a writing thing than anything. He's not the most likable in these early stories. All right, so let's get on to some points about this episode. I'm going to be honest, watching this one, I didn't have many points to make at all. I mean, it is a pretty basic story, Rose. It is mainly here to introduce us to the show, introduce the characters and all that sort of stuff. So everything else isn't massively, it's not massively plot heavy story or anything. So not a lot of points to be made here. Also, I'm watching these with my girlfriend, who has never really watched Doctor Who before. She's watched bits here and there with me, but I'm actually getting her to sit with me, and we're doing the whole watch through. I'll see how long that lasts. We've only done the first 2 episodes so far, but we'll see, if she keeps going with that, because I don't know, I want to get her involved with this, because I'm such a big fan of Doctor Who, and I'm trying to get her into it as well. I don't know how that'll work, but yeah. So first thing, Autons return for first time since 1971. So yeah, we haven't seen the Autons for a very long time. Only two appearances in the classic series. Of course, Spearhead from Space, brilliant story, first story for the Third Doctor, and then Terror of the Autons, which was well, the first episode of the Third Doctor's second season. Yeah, two pretty decent stories. I mean, Spearhead from Space is amazing. Terror of the Autons, I'm not as big of a fan of, I'll be honest, but yeah, a great villain that were not used very often. You know, twice within 2 years of each other, and then never again. So I think they were a pretty good one to bring back. We haven't really seen them back again in the new series since either. A little bit here and there, you know, Pandorica opens and stuff, but not to a full extent. But I don't think we really need to be honest. I think their purpose is used well here. I think they are used pretty well, and they're fairly scary with what they are used for. They're actually, watching this one back, they're not actually used as much as I remember them, because it is very much a, you know, who is the Doctor, who is Rose, what's going on here. That is the main thing of the story. The Autons are kind of just a secondary thing, but for what they are, they're pretty good. Of course, introduction to the Doctor and Rose. Not really got more to say about that because we just talk about the cast and stuff. But yeah, we're introduced to the Doctor, we're introduced to Rose, and I think it's done very well. You know, with Rose basically going to a Doctor Who fan to figure out who the Doctor is. A little bit silly, but yeah, I think it's done pretty well. You know, the Doctor explaining himself as much as he can and all the things that he's been through. Hasn't really got to the point in this episode where he starts talking about, you know, his planet's all gone. That happens at the end of episode 2, The End of the World, which I have already reviewed, so won't be doing again. But yeah, I just think all in all, good introduction to both characters. The Doctor's speech about the Earth revolving. I love this speech. The first proper speech in New Who, and I think it is a really good one where Rose is like, just tell me who you are. And the Doctor goes on about, you know, the whole, I'm here spinning, you know, the world is spinning, I can feel it under my feet, we're falling through space, you and I. Amazing speech. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it doesn't really explain who he is, but I think that's kind of the point, and it is a very good speech, and Christopher Eccleston does it very well, especially with, you know, waving the Auton arm at the end as well, go home, and yeah, really, really good speech. Not really much else to say there. Mickey turned into an Auton, is an interesting scene for sure, you know, where he goes up to the bin sticks to him, he gets put in the bin, and then all of a sudden he's now become an Auton. That is an interesting scene. The CGI has definitely not aged well. I mean, I've been watching a bit of classic Who now and again, you know, when I do the reviews. And of course, the effects in those haven't aged well, but I think with those, I expect them to be bad because it's like the 70s, 80s, you know, the 60s if I'm watching black and white Who from the first and second Doctor, so I'm expecting it not to be very good. But then going into this, which I've seen Rose 5 or 6 times probably, I've seen it plenty of times, but going back, I was actually a little bit surprised at how dated this looked. Yeah, I don't know if it's because Doctor Who now, you know, in the last few years is very high quality, and you know the graphics and the CGI is very good now, that going back and watching this, it really did make me think, oh wow. I mean, even when we're not looking at CGI, just the way it's recorded, you know, the quality of the cameras and just the feel of it, it does feel very old. And yeah, it is really starting to age on me, which I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's aged more than I thought it had, to be honest. And then my final point really is just the Auton attack on London. That is the main thing where we see the Auton. So of course the Doctor goes into under the London Eye, and that's where the Auton, you know, the heart of the Auton guy, I can't remember what they call it, the consciousness or something, is. And that is controlling all the Autons, and then he accidentally throws the anti-plastic in there that kills the consciousness thing, and all the Autons end up dying. But before that, you know, they all come to life in the shops and everything. They're shooting everyone. It's all a crazy massacre. That's the main part we see of the Autons, to be honest. That big kind of that big attack. So I thought that was a nice little scene there as well. Yeah, and having Jackie there, of course, Rose's mum. You know, there in the action was pretty exciting as well. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode. There's really not a lot going on in this one. It is the first episode of the new series. It's setting up the characters more than anything else. And yeah, it's good. I enjoy it. So for a rating out of 10, I'm going to give Rose a 7 out of 10. So if you don't know how my ratings work, a bit confusing, but basically a 7 is good. I don't really, I mean, a 5, I guess you could consider a 5 as average, but something that I consider as a 5 average, I don't think is that great. A 7 is the most common grade for me. It's not that it's average, it's just it's good. A 7 is good. I think that makes sense. So this is a good episode. It's a great introductory episode, but other than that, there's not a whole lot going on, so I can't really give it more than that. I think I used to give it about a 7.5, but it has gone down to a 7. But it is still a good episode, great way to start Who, and great introduction to the characters. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.